And Cleveland has another reason to be proud when an airplane lands at Burke Airport. Back in a moment. The pride of Cleveland comes home, and yes, friends, we're proud. Hats off tonight to Paul Duffy and Larry Rohl, two guys, both admittedly a little crazy, as they say, who finished 10th in the first Paris to New York to Paris air race. Apparently, it was enough to make Charles Lucky Lindbergh Lindy jealous. The pair arrived home earlier this evening to the cheers of friends and loved ones, not to mention a little bit of the bubbling.
Everything worked good for us. The Lindbergh had to be crazy. We were lucky. While one slept, the other one could stay awake, even though he slept anyway.
Would you do it again?
Huh?
Would you do it again?
I think we have to wait 2 years for the next race.
And then we're going to take...
we do a little regrouping.
The Americans beat the French in this contest. Our team placed 10th, but other American teams took 3 of the top 4 honors. Congratulations, Larry and Paul. We are very proud of you.
Yeah, they look...
It's the pride of Cleveland. That's a little Mooney airplane that was flown across the Atlantic not once, but twice by Larry Rohl and Paul Duffy, who are with us this morning. Larry is the owner of the T&G Flying Club, which teaches people how to fly down at Cuyahoga County Airport and at the Burke Lakefront Airport. And Paul Duffy, until fairly recently, was just a student pilot, but now he really knows what he's doing. Paul is owner of Duffy Steel Erectors. He's a structural iron worker, and they got involved in this big extravaganza where some 100 aircraft tried to go across the Atlantic twice. Nice to have you here this morning, and congratulations.
4 times.
4 times?
4 times.
You went 4 times across
Right.
the Atlantic?
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. You must be crazy. Why did you do that? I mean, these airplanes nowadays are so strong and so well built and so trustworthy. Well, what led you to decide, just shortly after having learned how to fly, to do that, Paul?
It was a race. It was just a race, you know. It's like running a foot race. We just want to see how well we could do. And we didn't do too bad, finishing 10th.
Out of how many planes?
Out of 85 that took off.
All over the world.
Right. Only 4 from this country.
Well, now, explain to us, Larry, if you will, how the thing came about, the whole project.
Well, it came about as one of Paul's brainstorms that we should get in this international competition, and myself, not being one that wanted to back off, said, okay, we'll do it. I wasn't sure we were going to do it until he put up the $850 entrance fee, and I knew the race was on.
Who did you pay that money to? Was there a national or international
There was a French
body?
Right. There was a French race committee that we sent the money into in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now how do you win? I mean, you're competing against different class of airplanes, right? So how did you place? Or...
Correct. Now, we were in the single-engine category, not competing against the multi-engine, and we finished 10th out of 50-some entries. And out of those 50-some entries, the results we got show that only about 27 actually finished the race.
Well, now, tell us a little bit about your airplane, the Mooney.
Okay, the Mooney is a conventional, business airplane that 4-place, single engine, about 195 miles per hour cruise, gets about 18 miles per gallon. It's a very popular single engine airplane because of its efficiency.
How much does it cost, an airplane equipped as yours is?
This aircraft new would be in the $80,000 to $100,000 range. As it sets there, it's approximately a $50,000 aircraft, quite well equipped. We had have instrumentation on there to actually detect weather and thunderstorms, as Lynn was talking about earlier.
Here's a picture taken over the left wing as you're heading out. What do we see there in the distance? Is that Iceland or Greenland?
Right there is Greenland. That was our only landmark between North America and Iceland. It was just slightly more than halfway to Iceland. It shows the ocean in the foreground, just in the leading edge of the wing, a cloud bank in close, and then the ice caps on the mountains in Greenland. And as you would go further north in Greenland, which we wouldn't see in that shot, the ice, I guess, is as much as 2 miles thick or 10,000 feet.
How high are you there?
Right there, we are probably 6,000 to 8,000 feet high. Generally, we tried to fly at 8,000 feet where we'd get the best performance.
Uh-oh, what's this?
That's the airplane we didn't want to see out there to pick us up.
Oh, that's the rescue airplane then, huh?
Is that dangerous? I mean, it seems to me that planes are so well built today. Was it a dangerous trip at all? Were there any hazards or?
They lost one crew that they never found.
One crew?
One crew, 2 French pilots drowned. Someone else ditched on the glacier cap on the ice. They ran out of fuel and they made it on top of Greenland. They ditched on top of it.
And they were rescued, though.
Right, and another crew missed Ireland completely and landed on a little island off of Scotland. And they were okay, but I don't know how they'll get the plane back on.
Yeah.
Another shot. There's one of those cloud formations, isn't it? Or what is that?
Right, there's clouds on the left and ice in the water. They're breaking up. It's the ice pack breaking up for the summer.
What was the longest period of time you spent in the air? I mean, without a break?
11 hours was the longest leg that was coming from Iceland back towards North America into the westerly winds.
What is that coast we see there?
Okay, that's the south coast of England, or the white cliffs of Dover.
So you're starting to feel pretty good about things by this point, huh?
We're on the home stretch here.
And what was the longest distance you could possibly have flown with the amount of fuel that you had on board with your extra tanks?
Okay, we would measure our endurance in hours, and we had just shy of 13 hours that we could stay in the air. So we had a small reserve if we would not, get too far off course or get unexpected high winds.
Pack ice, huh?
Okay,
Right.
guys. That's looking down about 8,000 feet.
You wouldn't want to land on that, would you?
No, go straight in, you're better off.
Okay.
This is not yours, is it?
No, that's the winner of the twin engine. It was also a U.S. registered plane from, the co-pilot was from Nashville. And it's got a Panther conversion on it.
And this is when you got there.
Yeah, a few of the French people there broke out the champagne and that was it.
What do you win for this? I mean, you paid $800 and some plus your fuel costs and everything. What do you win?
The 2 bottles of champagne we got just prior to this scene.
It was certainly worth it, wasn't it, Larry?
A lifetime of memories and photographs.
Well, that's something that you probably always dreamed of and always wanted to do, and you did it.
Yes, that's...
We have a few more pictures, and also maybe some of our friends out there might want to ask our intrepid adventurers some questions here this morning. Larry Rohl and Paul Duffy are our guests, and they flew the Atlantic 4 times, right? 4 times. That was the rule, that they had to go across and back and across and back, and they did it, and are here to tell about it. We'll be right back. It's the Pride of Cleveland that you see there, and Larry Rohl and Paul Duffy flew it 4 times across the Atlantic. Now, that had to have been a costly proposition. I see you have a little advertising on there. You must have gotten some kind of assistance from somebody.
Yes, there was a $12,000 cost involved in this venture, and we got Cleveland Machinery Sales owner Al Pettit was the first one to come up and say he wanted to pledge 1/3 of the cost, and without pledges like that we couldn't have made the trip.
Break down the costs. What were they?
We had about $5,000 invested in just the aircraft rental. The insurance for 2 weeks to fly out of the United States in an area that our normal insurance wouldn't cover would be another $2,000. Just shy of $1,000 to enter the race. About $2,000 worth of rented equipment, special radios, survival equipment, and so forth. Additional navigation equipment.
And your fuel.
Our fuel, which was as much as $3.50 a gallon in France.
Wow, incredible. And then how many gallons would you take on when you refuel?
100, 120.
120 gallons. So that's a lot to fill your tank, isn't it? $300-400. Let's take some calls here. Good morning. You have a question?
This may sound silly, but would you like to do it again?
Ask us in 2 years.
Yeah, he says ask in 2 years, yeah.
I think I would be willing to do it again. I don't know if I would want to spend my own money to do it a second time. I would like to, get more sponsorship. I'd like to see Cleveland be represented again. We were the only plane to represent a city as such.
What do you have here? Is this your chart, Paul?
This is what we had to work with in the cockpit.
So it's a continuous chart all the way from...
Right.
Did you all have to fly the same course? Is that part of it?
There were options on the courses we could fly, and depending upon how much money a person had to...
Sure. Yeah, you can look right through that hole.
Look through the Atlantic.
Depending upon how much money a person had for outfitting their aircraft, we have New York over here, and spread there is Paris. So this is the route right up to where Paul shows Iceland that we took.
Across the southern tip of Greenland, across Newfoundland, southern tip of Greenland, Iceland, down to the northern part of Scotland.
We
Right
never
across
stopped
Greenland.
there, though. We
Okay.
just went
You just-
nonstop.
We
That's
took
the
the
right
straight
place.
lines,
We
right?
went right through here. That's a fur piece, isn't it?
That's correct. Now, some of the aircraft were capable of making that entire trip nonstop.
Oh,
Oh, my word.
well, that's no fair to compete with them.
So that's why there were different categories of competitors.
Your question, please. Good morning.
Did you run into any bad weather on all 4 trips?
The problems with weather were that of icing. Wherever we flew, it seemed like there was probably at least 50% of the time we were in clouds. The clouds were above the freezing level because we were so close to the Arctic Circle. We did have icing problems. We were forced to either go above or below the clouds. We did not have any severe thunderstorms until on our way home, but fortunately we had detection systems.
Your question, please.
I'd like to ask Duffy what he thought of the French people in general.
Do I have to answer that?
No.
Not when they're charging over $3 a gallon for gas, right?
No, you really don't have to, unless you want to.
They won't let me in the race next time if I answer the truth.
Oh. Good morning. Your question, please.
Yes, how long did you have any problems during your flight?
Any problems?
Just with my partner.
What did you carry along some sandwiches or what?
Had to bring that up, didn't you? This guy never eats anything, and I eat everything that walks slow. So there was a few times when our stomachs didn't agree to what to do.
Your question, please.
If you ran into a real bad thunderstorm, how would you equip with it?
I close my eyes and let him do it.
Thunderstorms are something you avoid. You don't fly into a thunderstorm, and that's what the equipment helps you do, is avoid them.
And your question.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, please.
When you were halfway across the ocean, did you ever have any doubts about...
Whether you can make it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Only about 120 hours of the trip.
Were you really nervous about it?
No, it wasn't too bad. You have to have a little confidence in the engine, but a couple of times it burped.
Did it?
Yeah. You know, and since one crew had already gone down, you know, it's...
And you knew about that,
and
right?
we knew about it, and there's not really much chance of saving you after you go in the ocean.
And finally, your question. Good morning.
How long did the flight take?
We had 47 and a half hours in the air round trip. They measured our time from the time we lifted off the ground till we touched down at our next point.
So,
And with our fuel stops, we went continuously Paris to New York in 26 hours
and
Never slept, huh?
without sleeping, without eating.
Sounds
if we
like
could
fun,
keep
Larry.
all-
I'd love to, you know, go there.
well,
Nice vacation, that was.
today the Atlantic, tomorrow the world. Wouldn't you like to go all the way around the world on one of those?
How about just here to Las Vegas for a week?
Larry Rohl and Paul Duffy, thank you very much and congratulations. We're just really happy that you had a wonderful time. Realized a lifelong dream. Every pilot, I suppose, wants to get out there and do something really adventuresome and daring and something that you'll remember forever. And these fellows did it. They flew the pride of Cleveland in that transatlantic race. Appreciate